Obviously, the thumbnail is clickbait. I can't lie to you guys. Petra isn't actually going to launch a hollow purple to finish off Al. But what is true is that despite not using an attack like that, she achieved the unthinkable. She managed to defeat and corner Aldebaran. But then, something out of her control happened and ruined Petra Van Estrea's victory. But the victory wasn't the only interesting thing. We got revelations as massive as Aldebaran's true name. This has huge implications, and I hope you understand that due to the magnitude of this event, I won't be doing the usual member shoutouts today. What I will do is thank every single one of the 250 people who were reading this episode with me. And thanks again to the good Tessa, now going by Ashtray, who donated $120. Thank you so much. I'm getting closer to buying that graphics card at the end of the year to upgrade my workstation. Now let's begin. Welcome to the analysis and recap of Re-Zero Arc 9, Chapter 56. As a novel reader, something I absolutely loved was the author's reference to Petra's most important side story. In case you don't know, back during Arc 2, the author released a story called The World Petra Saw. This story narrates the events of Arc 2 from Petra's perspective. I remember when I first read that story, I wasn't very enthusiastic. I thought it was just bad filler, but honestly, I loved it. I liked it so much that when I made my top list of the best Re-Zero stories, I ranked Petra's story very high. In that story, we learn about the aspirations and vanity of a girl throughout her life until she meets Subaru. We're also told how she disliked Subaru at first because she felt he was hiding something under that facade of kindness. However, the next day when she sees him again, she feels he has changed and is now being truly honest. She doesn't know it, of course, but the reason she saw a different Subaru was because just the day before, Subaru had that iconic scene where he vented to Amelia. After that, we see her develop feelings for him. Feelings I really don't want to spoil for you because it's a very, very sweet subplot. I 100% recommend you read it. It's only about 50 pages, so it won't take much of your time. Anyway, today's episode makes many references to the events of this side story. It mentions how her original life was destined to be different, how she would have ended up being a vain person in a nearby village, and how the person she loves is not only very kind, but also, in a way, a liar. Returning to today's episode, I remember feeling really sad reading about the things Petra sacrificed. The things she offered up, like singing or sewing, were things she planned to dedicate herself to as an adult. Interests mentioned not only in her side story but also referenced throughout the main plot. What better moment than her own named chapter to remember all the things Petra once wanted to be, but can no longer be because she sacrificed them for the person she loves. Petra remembers everything I just mentioned during the more than 10,000 attempts she made to escape Aldebaran's domain. When I was rereading the chapter, I noted down everything Petra tried, and since it's interesting, I'll go through it all. She tried escaping by running using her power, but it wasn't enough. She tried resigning herself to do nothing, but it wasn't enough. She tried hitting her forehead against her knees while sitting, but it wasn't enough. She tried screaming during the transition of 2 loops, but it wasn't enough. She tried moving each of her companions away from the area, but it wasn't enough. She tried telling everyone about the strange phenomenon, but it wasn't enough. She let herself be caught by Al, but it wasn't enough. She defeated Al or lost to him in a duel, but it wasn't enough. She jumped into Al's arms as soon as the loop started, but it wasn't enough. She talked to each of her companions, but it wasn't enough. She tried singing to break a previous oath, but it wasn't enough. She tried taking her own life to end the loop, but it wasn't enough. She let herself be killed, and that wasn't enough either. Those are all the attempts Petra made across 10,000 loops. Please remember that even though she went through 10,000 loops, it doesn't mean she died 10,000 times. But something that really caught my attention is the revelation of how Petra communicates with the phantom Subaru. The novel makes it clear that she doesn't hear him with her ears, but through her heart. Why is this relevant? Because since the last episode, we've been told that the Loop's Aldebaran forces are repetitions that attack the rival's heart. But this attack didn't completely break her because there was an existence making her heart vibrate in her most desperate moments. Furthermore, in past episodes, it was noted that while Aldebaran seemed unbeatable using his authority, that wasn't entirely true, since every loop attacked his own sanity. So, for every attempt he triggered, he wore down both her heart and his own mind. Personally, I can tell you that this concept of heart and mind isn't something new to Arc 9 to explain the toll of an authority. In reality, these elements have been present since Arc 6, the Watchtower arc. Specifically, it was used when discussing how authorities function. In fact, take a look at the image on screen. That is an excerpt from Arc 6. In several parts of that arc, the words heart and mind are censored in the narration due to an authority. Given this precedent, it's hard not to take seriously how the narration today emphasizes the girl's heart, which, let's remember, is being affected by another authority. I know these details might sound far-fetched to some, but my job with these videos is to help the average reader notice the narrative elements the author is employing and has used in previous chapters. So with that in mind, I think it's a great detail that the narration emphasizes the word heart again, almost 3 arcs later. Another thing I found curious was whether Petra's sacrifices would reset along with the world. But when she recounts everything she lost, she actually includes the sacrifices made during Aldebaran's loops. If that's the case, it honestly seems pretty shitty. I mean, Petra sacrificed things in loops that ended instantly. It seems unfair that the price remains paid. Also, the emphasis on the final sacrifices she made to escape the loop is a huge detail. Even if it doesn't seem like much, those sacrifices are actually more crucial than they appear, and I'll explain why. I want to clarify that what I'm about to say isn't a definitive explanation of Aldebaran's domain. It's just the interpretation I've reached after rereading the chapter several times and considering side material where the trader's power is mentioned. Still, I can be forgetful. Even though I've read over 300 novels in the series, it's impossible to remember every detail, so if you spot a mistake, don't hesitate to correct me. Apparently, when Aldebaran locks someone in his loops, he doesn't see the result or process, which makes sense. It's always been said that in these cases, the only person who remembers the loops is the one locked inside. We verified this with Petra's 10,000 attempts today. Since Aldebaran has no way to check what happens inside the loop, he just trusts that the Aldebaran locked inside will end the loop at the optimal moment, when the victim breaks completely. But here's the trick. It's not just his opponent who can be the victim. He is potentially one too. So if Petra wanted to escape, she had to make Aldebaran give up, forcing him to end the loop. She had to do it quickly. Otherwise, her heart and mind would wear out, and she'd end up in the same state as Old Man Ram. Here we also see a surprising feat from the old man. Despite slipping into madness, he made sure to leave a message while succumbing to the breakdown of his self. The message was clear. Resolve this before you are consumed by the attempts. It's also clarified that by the time Petra was locked in, her companions had likely already succumbed to the loop. Or at least that's her hypothesis, assuming the loop reflects real-world results. So how exactly did Petra break the domain? It was a combination of things I've mentioned, but the 2 most important factors come now. Remember Petra's side story? One reason she developed a platonic love for the protagonist was that he lied for the good of others. Not malicious lies, but lies to show appreciation and consideration. Even though Subaru was bitten by dogs in Arc 2 and almost died, he lied to Petra, saying it wasn't a big deal so she wouldn't feel bad. This detail made her fall in love with him. Petra was a spoiled girl used to lying for her own benefit, but meeting Subaru made her realize you can also lie for the sake of others. With that said, can we really consider Subaru's lies in the strictest sense? According to Petra, no. That's why she genuinely believes the person she loves is not a liar. That's why, when she was about to give up, the phantom Subaru encouraged her, saying she must keep trying because these difficulties aren't a big deal, adding that it's all a piece of cake. Obviously, Petra knows Subaru is lying, but again, he's lying for her own good, so she doesn't break. So we come back to the same point. Are these words a lie if he seeks to save her? Petra is aware of the ambiguity, so she can't be angry. Besides, the Subaru she knows isn't a liar, so she won't let his words become one. And at that moment, she proceeds to sacrifice the things that will allow her to defeat Aldebaran. She sacrifices her ability not to give up, not to bend the knee, not to regret, not to cry out of frustration, and not to forget everything she has loved. Sacrificing all this right now is not only sad, but important. It's sad because Petra has truly become the witch of melancholy, condemned to be dominated by sad emotions. Remember, she can't sing, play with others, or have likes or dislikes. Independently, these might seem minor, but grouped together, They result in an almost empty life. As I said, these last 5 sacrifices are sad but crucial. Not being able to give up means that no matter what hell awaits her in Aldebaran's domain, she will not surrender. Not being able to bend the knee means she can't collapse in despair. Not regretting means she stops lamenting her weakness. Not crying out of frustration is self-explanatory. And not forgetting what she loved implies that regardless of the hell awaiting her, she won't forget why she's doing this. Reasons she was losing over the 10,000 loops. If she has removed the ability to suffer from those things, what's the point of continuing this game? That's why, when Petra says it doesn't matter if she repeats this moment millions of times, she isn't saying it out of bravado. She means it seriously. Another detail that made this a top-tier chapter is a phrase she uses. I don't know if you noticed, but Aldebaran's catchphrase when he wins is, "Your stars were bad." In the original Japanese, since Subaru is the name of the Pleiades star cluster, this can also be read as Natsuki Subaru failed you. Aldebaran has been constantly saying that all his bad actions are Subaru's fault, so this meaning is more present than ever. However, unlike Aldebaran, when Petra recalls her past and present, she recognizes she is alive thanks to Subaru's intervention. So now, after cornering Aldebaran, she says this. Her words can also be read in Japanese as, "I'm alive thanks to Subaru." But that's not the only way to read it. While the traitor blames Subaru for everything bad, the girl thanks Subaru for everything good. This is, without a doubt, an interesting contrast. Then, as soon as Aldebaran sees he can't break her, he momentarily remembers the witch of his fears, not his teacher, but the witch of greed from the sanctuary. This hesitation is detected by a strengthened Petra, who instantly uses her power to compress and explode this feeling of despair inside the traitor, forcing him to experience the sensation destined for her. And so, Aldebaran is forced to change his save point. But it doesn't end there. After the traitor is cornered, Petra uses her power to summon Roy. While both make use of an authority inherited from another, how they use it is very different. Aldebaran has no fear of sacrificing everything to achieve his goals. Petra, however, isn't willing to sacrifice everything, not out of fear or lack of determination, but because she is loved by companions who genuinely care for her. Out of respect for them, Petra doesn't let herself be consumed by power and only takes what is necessary. Because of these different approaches, when Petra summons Roy, Aldebaran thinks she will make Roy devour her. This would sacrifice her existence, forcing the witch back to her seal, and eventually, Reinhard would come for him. This would be the definitive game over for the traitor, but only if Petra were actually going to do that. Unfortunately, Aldebaran misreads this. As soon as the traitor sees gluttony, he expects the worst. To prevent Petra from erasing herself, he rewrites the oath he had with Roy. Rewriting this oath causes him great pain. In fact, it's stated that he feels his gait beginning to crack. This pain makes him lower his guard. Just when he thinks he has regained control, Felix appears behind him and instantly, continuously regenerates him from all injuries, nullifying any attempt to end his life. Something that caught my attention here is the oath. So far, we've only seen 3 oaths of this style in the series. Subaru and Roswall's bet in Season 2, one Petra used on herself in a side story, and one apparently made by Russell on a subordinate. Regarding the soul oath, since Aldebaran made an oath with Roy, the pact established that Roy needed to devour someone but was forbidden to eat people without permission. When they devoured Otto, the pact wasn't rewritten and there was no penalty because Aldebaran gave permission. However, when the traitor sees gluttony in this episode, he immediately forbids him from devouring others. This contradicted his initial words, where rules weren't absolute, and this contradiction burned part of his interior in exchange for adjusting the conditions. My understanding is that if one party breaks the promise, their soul burns, and their existence ends instantly. But apparently, the contractor, Aldebaran, can modify the deal at will by paying with the state of his mana gate. This payment is huge. Almost destroying his mana gate implies that if he continues casting spells, his gate will break, and he won't be able to use magic like before. Since this looks like a definitive loop, it seems Aldebaran will have to seriously restrict his magic usage, or his gate will shatter permanently. On top of that, near the end of the chapter, the traitor changes the conditions again so that Roy devours him, and the novel mentions the recoil he suffers is even greater. Before moving on to the final revelations, the traitor's identity, I wanted to add something. This episode clarified how paying with the melancholy gene works. Apparently, someone can pay for acts they perform and direct themselves, but if the action is directed by Petra, only she can pay for it. Since Petra recapitulates all the sacrificed things in this episode, I wonder which were sacrificed by her and which were by others. Finally, the most interesting part, the revelation of Aldebaran's name, Rigel Natsuki. I know I'm not the only one who thought of Rigel from the Sloth If story. While it's tempting to think Rigel came from that world to the main timeline, I honestly see it as impossible. I know some think that since Echidna's authority allows her to see past, present, and future, she surely saw a future where Rem and Subaru had a son and somehow brought the bastard over. But I'm sorry to say that's not possible. Remember, Rem's existence didn't appear in the Gospel, so it's logical to believe that if she doesn't appear, neither will her son. Now that we've ruled that out, I've seen others mention he's Subaru's son. While I don't deny the possibility, I think many are wrong to assume he's a biological son. Remember, you can call someone dad who is your adoptive father. The word isn't necessarily reserved for biology. I make these clarifications because in Re:Zero, the topic of clones is very present. Season 2's main plot focused on that. The Wallachia arc had a final enemy who was an Echidna clone, so it's not crazy to claim Subaru and Aldebaran must have a similar relationship, whether one is a clone of the other or both are clones of a greater entity like Flugel. I think just as Louis Arneb was baptized and reborn as Spica, the same happened with Aldebaran. When he was supposedly created by Flugel, someone who, according to Arc 6, has the same knowledge of astrology as Subaru, Flugel likely gave him the name of another star Subaru likes, Rigel. In fact, I'm putting a mention of Rigel from the Watchtower arc on screen right now. My point is, Rigel is just a name based on a star. It doesn't confirm he's a biological son. Finally, some believe Aldebaran has parents in the strictest sense, born of love and carnal desire. They argue this based on side story dialogue where he says he was born from his parents' love. However, it's true that when love is mentioned, the text puts it in quotation marks, and we know in Re:Zero when quotes are used, we have to be suspicious. After all, the author used quotes to differentiate the Echidna Aldebaran met in training from the one Subaru met. I mentioned this in my previous video, so check that out for details. Personally, I stand firm in my belief that Aldebaran is a clone of Flugel, and the sage, based on his star knowledge, named him Natsuki Rigel. That would explain him being the father, but not biologically. Although this leaves another doubt. Who is the non-biological mother? It's easy to think Echidna because she always says she created him. While true, I think she means she forged Aldebaran's identity, but didn't create Rigel Natsuki himself. This brings up the question, who are Aldebaran's parents? The father might be Flugel, but who is the mother? We've seen it doesn't seem to be Echidna, so we'll have to wait for answers. There was something I wanted to add earlier, but couldn't find the right moment. I hope this doesn't break the flow, but I'll leave some interesting questions the author answered regarding Aldebaran. You don't need an explanation to understand them, but if you don't, leave a comment and I'll explain. I hope you liked this video. It took longer than usual because the chapter was long and I had to check old sources. Remember, a like and a comment help the algorithm more than you know, so consider leaving your opinion on the chapter. See you in the next video.